Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to another edition of Sonora and Reef. It has been a long time since I've done a video, and I'm planning on doing 2 videos this week with the Christmas to New Year's break. I've taken off work to do quite a few projects, and a lot of those have to do with the aquarium, and specifically what we have behind me is the water changing station. Now, you guys know that I did a video, I don't even know how long it was ago. It was a while ago, about step one of setting this thing up. And I just never got around to doing it. So in today's video, we are going to be hooking up the water changing station. So let me kind of give you a tour of what we've got going on, because some things have changed since the last video. Alright, so as you can see, that big 120-gallon container is gone, and I have replaced it with these two 55-gallon drums. Now, why did I do that? 2 reasons. The first being is over there. So I bought a new truck after a long time of driving the same vehicle. It was time to upgrade. I still have the other one. It is right there. I've given that to my son for his first vehicle. So there's my wife's Mustang. She just got that one too. So anyway, so a little bit of into my personal life. So anyway, as I was saying, I got that truck, and that truck fits in this garage by about 6 inches if I bump it up against the water changing station. That's what that tennis ball there is for. And just in case I get too close, you can see the towel that I have wrapped around that post. So I couldn't park it in there with that big water station, so I decided to go with the two 55-gallon drums. Interesting thing about these drums, I went on Craigslist and I found them, and they were for bulk coffee. Sorry about that, I got a little blurry there for a minute. For bulk coffee. So when I got them, they were full of the remnants of this iced coffee mixture, this super concentrated coffee for restaurants. I only paid $10 per container. So the price was next to nothing. The pain was getting them clean, because they don't have removable tops. So cleaning them took several weeks of just filling them with hot water, letting them soak, break up, and then rinsing, and then taking the power sprayer and trying to spray inside of them, and then filling them with water, soap, letting them sit for a little bit, draining them. But I finally got them clean, and yeah, so here's the plan. We'll see if it works, but all of the plumbing is going to be above the container so that it still fits within that area. Some of you might be wondering why I'm using an M1 pump on a water mixing changing station, and that is because the Sonora and Reef also uses an M1, and I thought if I'm going to buy a pump for this anyway, I might as well get the same pump that the aquarium has. That way, if the pump ever craps out on me again, which I'll be doing another video on. In fact, depending on which one I upload first, you may have already seen it. That one's going to be about a crash on the Sonora and Reef and what happened and why and all that fun stuff. It wasn't fun, it was a nightmare, but we're going to call it fun because it's 2019 almost. We're going to have a new outlook. So anyway, this is going to be the basic water changing station. As you can see, I've got my RODI unit up there, and I'm going to set this up where I should have at any given time one container full of ready-to-go salt water, the other container full of RODI water for top-offs and things like that. And then worst case scenario, if I need to hurry up and mix a batch of salt water, I've already got the RODI ready, and I'll keep enough salt water on hand, or salt on hand, to quickly mix up a second drum in case of a catastrophic emergency. But I figure 55 gallons of salt water should get me through pretty much any emergency. Even if I just have to put the fish in buckets, I'd have water to be able to do that. So time to get started. Basically my idea is we're going to do combine the two lines into one, and then with this collection of valves, I should be able to either pump water back into the container to circulate it prior to using it if I have to put a heater in there, or I should be able to, again with valves adjusting, run it to a hose that will run inside the house, and I can use it just to fill up aquariums or containers or whatever need be. So time to get started. Step one is just going to be drilling holes in the top of these containers for these bulkheads. So let's get that going here. All right, so as you can see, I don't have a lot of room here. I'm going to use the gasket as a spacer, trying to make sure I have equal spacing on both sides. And after I drill everything, I'm going to rinse these out one more time, but they're clean. Rinse the top off too. I cleaned them about 6 months ago. What's crazy is, it might just be in my imagination, but they still smell like coffee. All right, so I have all of my holes drilled, and the first piece of plumbing I'm going to do is the intake, or what's going to draw water out of the reservoir. So as you can see, I put a piece of PVC on here, and I want that to be just about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch from the bottom to pull water from the bottom of this drum. So as you can see, I went the height of the drum just as a test, and sorry about shaking here. So if I cut off about 2 inches, I should be right there. All right, so I cut off those 2 inches, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but we'll give it a try. Try to focus in on that a little bit, and there we go. So I am right there, and I'm a little bit worried that I'm already gonna have some head pressure issues because I'm pulling water up from below the pump. I don't want to impede those anymore. So I think I'm going to cut about another 1/2 inch off of that pipe, give it a little bit more room. All right, I went ahead and cut off that other, that 1/2 inch there. And I'm still pretty close to the bottom there, but I want to be. So I want to make sure I pull all the water out of this drum. If I make it any shorter, then I run the risk of turning a 55-gallon drum into a 45-gallon drum, which I don't want to do. So this will be my withdrawal side here, and then when I'm circulating water, it'll come back into the 3/4 inch on that side. So I'm going to work that up next. So just to give you an idea of what's happening on this side, sorry, my little thing decided to slip. Oh, you guys can get the idea. So this is going to sit in just like that, and that'll be on my return side. So what'll happen is, if let's say I'm heating the water, I can use one of the holes that came with it. I can undo the knob here, drop my heater in, have the water, adjust the valves so I just circulate it within the container, making sure it's all evenly heated and I don't get like hot water on the top and cold water on the bottom, or vice versa. So that is the plan. And you know, if I was going to do a huge water change and I wanted to make salt out of both of these things, I'm going to set up the valves in such a way where I can mix the two jugs together so that I don't have one jug whose alkalinity or salinity is slightly different than the other. So probably won't have to do a massive water change like that very often. But if I'm experiencing a tank crash or something weird's going on and I need a bunch of water right away, I want to make sure that it's both jugs are the same. So back here you can see I've drilled a hole for the RDI input water. On this jug I accidentally drilled a hole in a thick part of the interior, so I couldn't put the nut on the other end. So I'm going to have to seal that up, but that shouldn't be a huge deal. I think just some silicone will work. But that's a lesson in measure twice, cut once. So now I'm going to do everything that I did on this side to the other side and glue everything and get ready for the next step. All right, well, this isn't a plumbing video per se, but just to kind of show you what I'm doing, I'm treating both ends with a PVC cleaner. Then I'm treating both ends with a primer, and then I'm treating both ends with the cement. So that is what we're going to do here to all of my fittings. I've got everything lined out for both sides. I'm going to do that and go from there. All right, so I'm about an hour in, and I've just been kind of test fitting some stuff. I've got a couple things to change, but I thought I'd just check in and kind of show you the direction I was planning on going. So I've got the RDI lines tied into the two containers, and then we're going to be able to pull from either jug based on what valve is open and closed, and that will run into the pump, which is going to be right there. Now I've got some, it wasn't my original plan. I was going to put the pump on top of the containers, but there just wasn't enough room and the angles were too tight. So I'm going to do it this way. I'm still not, this is pretty simple and straightforward. That's just going to be a 90 over to there, adjust some heights. Here I can't decide if I run it in the front like this or run it around to the back, just so that I don't have this pipe that's kind of sticking out and runs the risk of breaking and stuff. I'm not too concerned about it in this corner, but the longer it stretches out, the more there's a chance that something's going to hit it. So, all right, so here we are. We have the first section done up until this point. And then you can see how I've kind of roughly plumbed in the rest. The reason I did it this way is I kind of lined it up with the crack on the ground. That is the separation between the side that I park on and the side my wife parks on. And want to make sure that I have enough room. I may fiddle with this a little bit, but one concern I had is I wanted to make sure I had enough room to plumb the returns and get to the lids, because that's how I'm going to dump salt into the tanks to mix up salt water. Alright, so here we have the first side done. I apologize about all the primer. It helps me see what ones I've glued, and this is out in the garage, and I want it to look good, but at the same time I also want to get it done. I've got some stuff I have to do, and anything you do, you should do it right, and I am trying, but I want to make sure everything fits more than I want to make sure that that primer's not dripping all over the place. So please be kind in your comments, but there we go. There is the side, I don't even know what to call it really, I guess the intake into the pump side. So as you can see, I can choose from either container by just closing off the valves, and it'll run into the pump, and now I have to run from the pump back into the containers, and then I'm going to tee off of the pump, which will right there, I'm going to just coil up some tubing that'll run inside when I'm doing my work. But we are half done. Alright, so it's coming along here. I have the top roughly plumbed in so you can kind of see what I've got going on. So from that union right there is going to be, I'm going to take a thing of hose and connect it right there so that I can take the tubing and run it into the house. I got to get a rough measurement of how much tubing I need and buy that. But otherwise, you can see that I can draw from either tank, go in, and then I'll be able to return it to either tank. So, yeah, it's coming along really well, I think. Just lots more gluing and fitting to do, but it is coming along. So, I will touch back with you when it's all put together, and you can see how I ran that pipe right along the steel there. I'm going to zip tie it or use some anchors to connect it to help with any weight or vibration while the pump's going, and then I'll mount the pump controls right there. So a little bit more to do, but it is certainly coming along. Got a couple little quick fixes I'm going to do, but it's coming along. So I'll be very happy when this thing is done. All right, so we're in the home stretch. All of the plumbing work is basically done, except for there at the end. I need to go to the store and grab a connector, but all of the other plumbing work is put together and done. So, yeah, I'm in the home stretch. So I'm starting to mount the pump and do some other things while I'm waiting for the glue to cure so I can test it. But we are in the home stretch now, everybody. So give me a couple minutes, let me get cleaned up, and we'll take a look at the finished product. All right. Well, that was a little bit more painful than I wanted. It took me forever to get the system primed. And, but as you can see, the pump is now working. We've got water movement. I don't know if you can see that or not. In this tub. If I open the valve over here, you can hear that it's already partially full, but it's more full. So right now it's just circulating water in this container, and there's a heater in it, just a cobalt neotherm heater. This is just water, regular old everyday water, just cleaning out the system. I'll purge it all tomorrow and then start filling it with RODI. But as you can see, it is dark outside, and I'm hungry. So I'm gonna go get some food and call it a night. I'll be back tomorrow morning. All right, everybody. Well, we are as done as we can get on this water changing station. So let me go ahead and run through it with you a little bit. I'll answer some questions that you may have along the way. Here's the finished product. Now over here, I went to 3 different hardware stores today, could not find 3/4 inch interior diameter tubing, at least not enough of it to get everywhere in my house that I want to go. Ordered it on Amazon. That's going to go right here. I ordered 100 feet, but I'll probably cut about 25 feet of it off. And that's just going to go here. I'm going to put a 90, attach the hose barb, and just circle it around like that. So that's pretty simple. So let's kind of walk you through the system, and then I'll talk to you about a couple issues that I had. Let's see here. So pretty simple. We've got the RDI unit there. The RDI unit comes to this first split right here. From that split, I've got it turned off, and I've got a bleeder valve. so that I can run the system until I get 0 on the TDS meter, at which time I can shut this off and let it come to here. Now from here I can select which one of the 2 containers I'm going to be filling. This is going to be my RDI tank. So I can shut this valve off for now. There's no reason to have it open. This tank is going to fill. It is full right now. So it's full of basically just tap water, so I can test the system. I didn't want to test the system with 55 gallons of good water. So I've already added prime to the system. I just did that in the last segment. So here we are. We've got this tank. It's circulating. The pump is on. So when I go to make salt water, all I have to do is take this container, unscrew the lid, get a funnel, stick the funnel in there, add my 55 gallons of salt mix, pour it right into the tank, and add my heater. If I haven't already added the heater before, I might want to just add the heater to the RDI tank ahead of time so the water's the right temperature when it goes into the mixing station. But you can tell here, let me show you. First thing I would do is I would open up the valve, and you can hear it start to pour in here. Let me open this up so it's a little bit more dramatic. So now that tank is filling up with water from this tank. Okay, I'm going to stop putting the RDI water back into here. Now we're drawing from the RDI tank and we're filling in this tank. So once this tank, which already has some water in it as well, but once it would fill from the bottom to the top, at that point I would let this tank circulate. To let this tank circulate, I would open up the water flow here, cut it off here. So now, this tank is just circulating. And that's how it would be for 24 hours while the salt water was getting fully mixed up, ready to rock and roll. At that point, I can shut the pump off and let it stay like that until I'm ready for it, probably over the course of a weekend. But once I'm ready, then I would send it out this spigot. And to do that, you would open up the spigot, close it here, and now as you can see, we have the water draining out, which would be going to my hose and throughout the house. So, let me shut that off real quick. We'll go back to circulating just regular water. All right, so now the water's just circulating in this tank again. A couple things that I'm going to go ahead and, this is a good opportunity to say, if I turn this pump off, and if you remember in the very first part of the video, this pipe comes down about that far in the 90s. That's to circulate the water in the tank, and it draws from the very bottom. If I leave this open and there's not water above that mark, it'll suck the air into the tank, into these lines. The water line will drop down and I'll have to reprime the tank. Priming this pump was a major pain. I do not ever want to have to do it again. Now I'm getting plenty of pressure now that it's primed. But it really is not a self-priming pump. So if I killed the system and I let all the water drain, then I'd have to reprime it again. And it took about an hour to get it to prime. I was at my wit's end, to be honest. It just finally had enough suction to prime itself. I didn't do anything special other than having my head in my hands, just wondering why I spent 8 hours of time plumbing something that wasn't going to work. So, if I choose to turn off the pump, what I have to do is I have to make sure all my valves are shut. Kind of think of it like when you were a kid in a restaurant and you took the straw and you pinched the end of the straw. You can take the straw and the soda or the tea or whatever would stay in the straw. Same principle. If I shut off my valves, the water will stay drawn up into these pipes and I won't have to reprime the pump. So it's pretty simple. I can have my power right here. I don't want to run the pump with all of the valves closed for obviously very long. I don't want to damage the pump. So pretty simple. I don't have to close all the valves. I just have to close all 3 red valves so that air cannot get into the system. Okay? Close. Close. Off. Okay? So it does not matter if these valves are closed or opened, as long as the system can't get air introduced below the water line, I'm good. Now, there is a danger. These pipes go down to about here. If I let the water line go below that, it will suck air, it'll kill the prime, and I'll have to reprime this, and I really don't want to do that. So my solution is going to be putting a mark on the tank when I hit about the 45-gallon mark, so that once I get the tank down to 45 gallons, I will know to stop pumping water into the tank, so I will leave about 5 gallons of water in the bottom of these containers so that I don't have to reprime it. If I mess up, not the end of the world. I can get it to prime again. It is just a pain to do so. And how I do that is just introduce water into the system from here. So, at any rate, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's been, let's see, I don't even remember when I did the first episode of this video, when I put the rack in and painted the wall, put in the RDI system, but it's been a long time. So it feels good to be making a video again. My next videos will involve the Sonoran Reef. As some of you guys might have seen little tidbits, it did have a partial crash. So it won't be clickbait when I post my next video that says, why did my tank crash? So I do have some answers, and I'm interested in your feedback because it's not a clear-cut reason. There's about 3 things that happened that any one of them could have caused the crash. I didn't lose any fish, didn't lose any soft corals, lost a couple of LPS, but mostly it affected the SPS, you know, those sensitive little boogers. So stay tuned for that next episode. Hopefully, probably next Sunday after we do the water changes and stuff, I'll be ready to talk about that. We're going to do some tank maintenance as part of that crash video. So thank you everyone for watching, and look forward to the next time talking with you. Thanks. Bye.